So here we are, just a couple of days down from the time out at Huntly, and I've got quite a lot in my mind, so I thought it might be an opportunity to get my video log done early, even though I know we've got a few weeks to do it. So just fresh on my mind from reflecting on what came out of the last couple of days, but also as I'm getting ready to start in my new role. So this is what I've been thinking. So the thing that came through to me really clearly in that time was that first of all, that whole Coomera thing, that there's all these great things going on, and most people don't know about them. It's almost like the best kept secret in town. But also that cultural issue around being self-effacing and not wanting to share, it's a bit of a double-edged sword. So I think, the learning from that is, finding that fine balance between the things that you ought to be sharing and celebrating success with, but also keeping things on the down low until such time as they've become self-sustaining and you're starting to see results from them. And that's quite a good lesson for me as I move into my new role. The other thing that came out of this was actually not about one of the speakers that were there, but Tracy Hook talked about the changes in the organisation of Tainui since the new CEO had taken over, and the words that were used, and someone, I think it was Julian, was sitting next to me and said and agreed with what she was saying, that under the new leadership there's a real sense of meeting halfway, and the collaboration between, I guess what they were saying was governance, management and the doers. And I also found that quite interesting too, that I didn't know the previous CEO at all, and only know the new one by virtue of being friends with his wife, but I don't really know him. So I found that quite interesting, and I thought that was a really nice thing, that whole idea about meeting halfway. And for me, going into my new role, I'll be working with 3 creative directors or artistic directors that will have a certain view of how my organisations should run, but I also am the kind of the meat and the sandwich, in that I'm also getting a direction from the board about what they want to see. So my job will be meeting halfway upwards, but also halfway downwards or crossways, however you want to look at it. I went and met with one of my orchestras yesterday, and there's still quite a bit of resistance around this new organisation and how it's being formed. So for me, I've had to change my capstone, of course, because I'm no longer with the Chamber, and so my new topic is going to be the first 100 days of leadership in a new organisation. And my plan is, over that first 100 days, following the model that Shane talked about, and bearing in mind that the major change for these 3 orchestras is that they have been entirely volunteer organisations for the last 20, 30, 50 years. And they've operated just fine with a group of volunteers, but that in some ways the change is being pressed upon them because funders are wanting to see this change. So dealing with the change management in terms of changing the organisation from being entirely volunteer-led to being led by a very experienced governance board and a paid CEO and 2 staff that I have to recruit. So that's one big change, but also understanding that the organisation has to change to meet the times in terms of audience numbers as well. So my expectation is that not a whole lot will happen in that first 100 days. It'll be about thinking and listening and watching, and what I really like is that that's my board's expectation of me as well, is that first 3 months will be taking information in, but not necessarily about output. So I'm hoping that I can start to use some of those lessons that I've had over the last 3 or 4 months with CELF, and apply some of that, the courageous conversation stuff and the pregnant pause. I know it has a correct term, but that space between action and reaction. Some of the stuff around cultural differences, although I'm not working within a multicultural organisation, that again is one of the challenges for us, is that it's very, for want of a better word, homogenised, and that needs to change. So how do you do that? How do you engage with other cultures, get them involved in this? And also the storytelling that comes with running the new organisation. So I'm hoping that each of those lessons I'll be able to apply as part of my project, the view being that at the end of that 100 days, what is it that we want to achieve as an organisation, how have I been able to apply those lessons, and what do we need to do for that next 100 days and that next 100 days to get us fully operational in that time. So that's been really challenging, and finishing off my job here, there's some grief attached to that, because I really am quite engaged with the job, and I'm anxious because there's nobody been appointed to the role, and I'm meant to finish in 2 days. So that's concerning me a little bit. I probably just won't let go of it just quite yet. I found CELF exhausting, exhilarating, life-changing, made me really think about a whole lot of things and what I do and how I could do it better. And it's been really interesting talking to some of the other participants who have also found it to be a really life-changing experience in terms of how they've engaged with their teams, how they've approached life in general, and everything in between. So that's been awesome, making new friends, making new contacts, seeing some of those networks already start to bear some fruit, and see other people benefit from those networks has been really rewarding. So this probably isn't going to go out before Christmas, but if it does, happy Christmas, and we'll see you all in January.